in advance what achieving this goal looks like. Let's say we use the goal of losing weight. We've all said that we want to lose weight, but what does it actually look like? How many kilos will you have lost? What do you feel in your body? What are the thoughts you will be thinking once you have lost the weight? What would you be wearing? How would your life look like? Paint that clear picture for yourself, because losing weight is not clear enough for your brain, and it doesn't give you specific outcomes or metrics for your brain to help you actually create. Hello and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Nicole, a life and business coach for high functioning women. I'm a self-proclaimed foodie, content creator, educator, and your new abundance bestie. In my world, we talk about all things to do with elevating your life. I post weekly videos helping the everyday woman embody her highest self, create inner wealth, master her mindset, unlock her femininity, and be an absolute boss in life. I create resources, trainings, and host experiences online and in person in order to help you reconnect to your true self. Not the one you think you need to be, but the you that you were born to be. So you can reclaim your power and amplify your voice to lead, love, and create as a woman. If you like my vibe and you want a little bit more abundance in your life, hit subscribe to be notified whenever I drop a new episode, and be sure to check out the free resources in the description below. Hello, and welcome back to my channel. I'm Nicole, your flow-based life and business coach and abundance bestie. On this episode, I am talking about how to set realistic resolutions in 2024 that you won't give up on. How many times do we set resolutions that we fall off the wagon on only a month or two later? Why does this happen? I swear this is something that I've seen so many times happen for myself and for all of my friends and my clients. And I have come to realize that there is actually a science to creating a resolution that you can actually stick to. So stick around for this entire video as I share with you 6 important things to take note of when you are setting resolutions this year. Okay, let's get into it. So firstly, what is a resolution? We say it all the time. It's a new year. Of course, everyone's throwing around this word, but let's get down to the root of the word. Resolution is a firm decision to do or not do something. A resolution is also a quality. It's the quality of being determined or resolute. Now, what does resolute mean? I didn't know this until I looked it up. It means being admirably purposeful, determined, and unwavering. So in essence, to be resolute is to have a commitment that is unwavering. Isn't that so beautiful? When we think about resolutions, we need to turn them from external goals and outcomes that we want to achieve, so we are more socially acceptable, more likable, we fit in, we look the part, to an intentional, self-focused act of self-love. And here's why. The root of that word resolution is resolute, and it's actually a quality, it's a characteristic. And really, to be unwaveringly and purposefully committed to yourself is an act of self-love, because it means that you are honoring what you say you will do. So whenever you make a resolution, especially in this new year, I invite you to think about how this resolution can really be a reflection or an expression of self-love. 2, it is the greatest act of honor for you to stay committed to the things you say you will do, because basically it's kind of like you are not betraying your own trust. So many of us betray our own trust because we say things and we don't honor them. It's kind of like having a friend who makes empty promises, and we don't want to have that relationship with ourselves coming into the new year. In fact, the most important relationship we need to maintain, which is often the last for so many of us who are so busy people pleasing and putting other people first, is the relationship with ourselves. So to resolve to do something is to decide on a firm course of action. So when you look at creating resolutions this year, I want you to pair the knowing that it is about decision and commitment, but to also pair the knowing that it is about committing to yourself. And this is the first key to creating resolutions that you won't fall away from. It's about recognizing that really the only person you are accountable to at the end of the day is yourself. The only person that has to live with the emotions, the thoughts, the reality that is being created by the actions or the non-actions is yourself. So taking responsibility for the resolutions that you set this year is really about honoring your own self-trust. The more self-trust you have, the more that you're able to really know that you have your own back. And what happens when you don't have your own back? Well, you beat yourself up, you compare yourself, you use the you should all over yourself, and you just live in this miserable, toxic cycle of never amounting up to your own expectations. And this to me is the most harmful place to live in, because again, nobody is in your mind for you. You are the only person who controls that dialogue. So if you can have a healthy dialogue with yourself and practice healthy self-trust and honoring what you say you'll do, even if it's hard, honoring when you don't want to do something and taking responsibility for that, those are the kind of ways that you cultivate a healthy self-trust relationship. So now let's go into the 6 points that you can take away to help you set resolutions that you won't give up on. Number 1, be specific about your end goal. One of my favorite quotes of all time is by Stephen Covey, and he says, start with the end in mind. You might have heard this advice said over and over and over again every time somebody talks about setting goals, but there's a reason for that. When you set a goal with the end in mind and you are extremely clear on what that goal looks like when it is realized, you are able to literally equip your brain to help you. The way the brain works is that it works under programming, and programming comes in pictures and words. And so whenever you're thinking of a really clear scenario in your mind, a visualization, for example, you want it to include as many sensations as possible. You want to include what you're seeing, what you're tasting, what you're feeling, what you're smelling, what you're hearing. And this is why visualization meditations are so powerful, and also why vision boards are so powerful, because when you are actually creating a very clear picture in your mind's eye, you're programming your brain with thoughts, with words, and with feelings, and with pictures. This is how your brain receives information. So this is also what happens in trauma victims, where a certain scenario has been etched into their brain and it is on repeat, and it feels like they're living it in real time. So their body is literally responding in real time, even though the event is not happening right now at this present moment. Our bodies react to what is happening in our minds, even if it is not in our current reality. So imagine if you could flip this and use this to create your dream life in 2024. Whether it's a scenario, a circumstance, a change in your physiological body, whatever it is that you're trying to resolve to create in 2024, I invite you to get really crystal clear about what that looks like and use your 5 senses as a way to create that picture. And the other thing you need to know is that when you don't take the time to decide how something will look like once it's achieved, you basically keep running for that goal and working towards it and never actually get to achieve it. This is what so many of us do because of the fact that we haven't decided in advance what achieving this goal looks like. Let's say we use the goal of losing weight. We've all said that we want to lose weight, but what does it actually look like? How many kilos will you have lost? What do you feel in your body? What are the thoughts you will be thinking once you have lost the weight? What would you be wearing? How would your life look like? Paint that clear picture for yourself, because losing weight is not clear enough for your brain, and it doesn't give you specific outcomes or metrics for your brain to help you actually create. The more data that you give your brain, or the more structures you give your brain to go off, the more it can kind of use that and bring it into your unconscious and help you in your day-to-day life to find ways to make that your reality. If you don't give it specific outlines and you kind of just let it form its own images of what or having accomplished this goal is, it's going to be really hard for you to know that you have arrived at that goal as well. And so what happens is you're going to keep running, you're going to keep moving, you're going to keep pursuing this goal and never feel accomplished, which is going to leave you burnt out, exhausted, and potentially wanting to give up on your goal. Point number 2. Be emotionally connected to your resolution. The problem that I see for so many people creating New Year's resolutions is that their goal is really not their own. or it is partially their own, but they haven't embodied and integrated it. What does this mean? Well, if you set a goal of starting a business, for example, I want you to really be clear on emotionally, why do you want this goal? Why do you choose to start the business? What difference would it make if you didn't start the business? How would you feel? How would it impact your life? It goes for every other goal that you set. What really great salespeople do is they actually connect your desire to make a purchase or your evaluation of it to your emotional why. And if you can see the impact of having this thing that you're gonna buy in your life and you can feel into the impact of it, then you're likely going to want to buy it. In the same way, if you feel the impact of not choosing to buy it or not choosing to make the investment, and you can see that it would create pain and more stress and more worry to not have the thing, even though the investment is uncomfortable, again, it would be an invitation for you to actually choose to buy it. This is a great way to look at selling yourself on your own dreams and desires. Because again, most of us believe that we're sold on our resolutions until later down the line, we just give up on them like they didn't matter to begin with. And so to really actually anchor in sticking it out and having this resolve, we have to start on an emotional level. What you have to understand is that 96% of our decisions and actions in our day-to-day life are actually coming from the unconscious mind, and that is the emotional aspect. We are constantly making emotional decisions or decisions from emotion. We are wired to act from emotion first. It is our intuitive primal instinct. Logic is something that comes in to help us reason and understand, but our emotion, our instinctual nature is actually what acts first. Even if we think that we're always thinking about our decisions first, we're actually usually intuitively knowing what we want to do more than anything. And this is why it's so helpful for us to be in tune with reading our bodies, our gut, our emotions, because they are actually the greatest guides to our best decisions. And yet we live in a world that emphasizes that logic is the more superior. If we actually look at how we are wired as human beings, we still have a primitive brain. And so it's so important to honor this by really recognizing the important role that emotions play in creating action or generating motivation and excitement and purpose and commitment towards the things that we say we want. So as long as there is an emotional connection that you actually feel compelled by, you are going to show up for this goal. And throughout the year, you might need to refresh that connection. Just like you might need to refresh your vision board or meditate with it for a little while or really feel into the images on your board or swap it out for a new one, you will want to do this for the emotional connection points towards your resolutions. A great way to solidify your emotional connections to your board or to your board, if you're making a vision board, to your resolutions, is to actually share it with other people. The act of sharing allows you to take accountability and responsibility for it. And it's also being seen in the public eye as well that allows us to really own the things that we say. So whether it's with a group of friends or your partner or your family members or on your social media. I know for me, I have posted so many things on my socials, made highlights on my reels for things that I haven't yet created, but I have shared. I want to do this. I want to start a podcast. I want to launch a journal. I want to host an international retreat. And these are things that I share with my audience because for me, it allows me to feel really motivated and excited. And it allows other people to see what's on the horizon for me and to get excited for that. And on a business standpoint, it's kind of like teasing and exposing your future products without really trying. And people are sold on this. People really feel connected to the vulnerability of you sharing this. And it reminds them that you're human too. So it creates a great trust point with your brand. So before I move on to the third point, I want to invite you to actually check out my vision board virtual workshop, which you can actually download or access right now. And it is a workshop that I would highly recommend at this time of the year, especially. And if you are someone who's never created a vision board, or perhaps you have created a vision board but don't really understand the science behind it, why it works, how to activate your board, and how to build it well, you want to check out that workshop because it is something that once you sign up for it, you get to access it for life. You can check out the details in the description below. Point number 3, set realistic expectations. Again, this is said so many times in the goal setting space, but let's be honest, how often do we actually listen? Setting a realistic expectation is not just about looking at the size of the goal and the scale of what you're trying to create, it's also about looking at yourself and your capacity. After coaching so many women in their life goals and their business goals, I have realized that so many of us have a chronic habit of overcommitting and underestimating our capacity. We think that the time it will take to do something will be like this much, when actually it probably takes triple or quadruple that amount of time. I see this especially for high functioning women or those in business like myself who are used to kind of moving at such a fast pace and always are expecting themselves to deliver more than they actually can. And what this leads to is like this piling long list that never ends, and constantly feeling like you're on a hamster wheel and never being able to stop. This rushed energy about the way so many of us are programmed, or more so the hustle mindset, is what also perpetuates this habit of setting unrealistic expectations. So we really have to ask ourselves with our resolutions, great, we have this goal in mind, we have this commitment we want to make to ourselves, but what is our current capacity? Look at the next 3 months, or maybe the next 6 months. Look at the next week if you want to break it down that much, and ask yourself, what is my physical capacity to actually contribute to this? You want to be a morning girly, but if you are somebody who literally cannot wake up in the morning because you have, let's say you have night shifts and you physically can't wake up at that time, or you can't yet because you need to slowly build that habit, then allow yourself that buffer time. Remember that there is a ramping period to creating a new habit and to change. So you have to acknowledge that there will be friction in that first 2 to 3 weeks of attempting to build that habit. Also, look at your capacity. If you want to launch a business, let's say, hire a business coach, do a consultation call with someone, get some experts' opinions and people who've done it before, and ask them, how long realistically does it take? How many hours a week do I need to make available if I want to be a successful YouTuber, or if I want to monetize my TikTok lives, or if I want to become a runner? What are the practices, the stretches? How many times a week do I need to train? Really get the professional opinion, or actually do your own research, watch YouTube videos, listen to podcasts to really understand like what is expected and what is my capacity. Because so many people, particularly women that I've worked with, are so used to just saying yes and setting the goal without really acknowledging their capacity and what's currently on their plate. Let's be real, you can't just drop everything in this moment to do it. You literally have to work with your current situation in life. And what also helps is by setting a metric for measurement that you can track your growth in. So many people will say, especially in the flow-based space, and particularly my clients who kind of want to shift out of the very structured and rigid way of life, is
I don't want to overstructure or have a timeline for everything.
Which is fair, which is fine. You don't need to have this attachment to a timeline. In fact, I highly recommend that you don't. Rather, it's about setting checkpoints and space, allowing space for you to actually evolve and show up for that timeline. And you don't need to hard date everything. You literally just need some form of structure, benchmark, measurement tool to help you. So measurement tool could be how you feel. By measuring how you feel about going to the gym every day, you can recognize that maybe when you started the journey, you were feeling so resistant, feeling so anxious and insecure. And maybe 2 months down the line, you check in on your emotions when you go to the gym and you notice that you're no longer anxious and insecure. You're actually excited. You actually feel a sense of purpose every time you go to the gym. You feel connected to your why rather than thinking about other people's opinions. And this is a huge thing because, again, in the very overly masculine and rigid world we live in, usually the metrics that we use are very traditional. They're metrics like how much time, how much money, how often, how consistent, and they're much more rigid in that sense. But you can still use feminine metrics like this, like how you feel or the quality of your thoughts, maybe even your energy, how much energy you have left. If your goal is to do with eating or nutrition habits or lifestyle habits, these are kind of metrics that you can also use. Whether you're measuring in time, money, resource, tangible, intangible, feminine or masculine metrics, you want to at least have something that you can track, because the trackability of something is what allows you to not just see your progress, which is in terms of receiving dopamine release in our brains and feeling that reward of the work that we're putting in, but it's also a way for for us to stay motivated, because when we experience that rush of, oh my gosh, I'm actually making progress, we only want to keep growing. And this is the cycle that we want to get into. In the beginning, it can be really hard, and this is where the stop start tends to happen because we don't see that feedback loop yet. But as long as you are having a tracking process, that really helps you. Even something as simple as having a calendar that you tick off each day, that visually allows you to feel connected to moving that needle forward. In the same light, number 4 is to make your resolutions not just outcome-based, but emotion-based. So we already talked about the importance of emotion and how it connects to your resolutions and being able to stick to them. But the real essence of what I want on this point is to recognize that importance of the feminine. The feminine aspect of gratitude, feeling, being, appreciating, receiving is so important. And for so many of us, we are so imbalanced in our feminine and masculine energy. So much of what we're doing is initiating, pushing, giving, like action, and we're only measuring our success in something or our progress in something by how much output we have done. And that is a very masculine metric, but we are equally comprised of feminine energy. So if we look at the metrics of femininity, it's how much pleasure did I have? What did I feel today? How much did I allow myself to be? How much space am I allowing myself to occupy and enjoy? And to receive, how much did I allow myself to receive? And these are very valid metrics because, again, you are comprised of both qualities, both energies. And this is not about gender. If you want to know more about masculine and feminine energy, you can check out my podcast, which I will link in the description below, because I do a whole series on this and we talk a lot about this as well in my programs, as well as my community, the I Am Her Collective. I really feel like this conversation about feminine, masculine metrics and approaches to things is something we're going to be having a lot in 2024. So please comment below if there's anything specific that you want me to dive into when it comes to understanding these energies and really harnessing and working with them to create the best and most abundant version of life for yourself. But I want you to, instead of setting a goal like lose 5 kilos, which is a very masculine metric, I want you to use the feminine metric of setting a goal that is to lose 5 kilos and to be able to feel comfortable in my own skin. While it doesn't seem as structured, as measurable, the fact that it has that masculine tangible metric of 5 kilos specifically, it makes it feel exciting. It makes it feel emotionally connected. And what happens is you can also use that metric to look at yourself in the mirror and go, well, I'm on the way to losing 5 kilos, but do I feel much more comfortable in my own skin? And doing that quick body scan, that emotion scan, which allows you to feel again connected to the progress you're making, or to check in on whether you actually feel connected to your goal anymore. In the same way, perhaps your goal is to be a morning walk girl. Like you want to do your morning walkies on sunrise and just have more peaceful, quiet mornings. Maybe your feminine metric could be, I want to be able to start each day feeling like I am in control, feeling a sense of peace in my body and mind. And this is something that again seems quite intangible, but when paired with the metric of every day having done a 30-minute walk at sunrise, that is a great partnership. All right, point number 5, we're almost there. It's making a plan. I know, we've all heard the saying, fail to plan, plan to fail. Making some sort of plan is the best way to help yourself succeed, because having a plan of some sort allows you to have space for growth. Just like having a boundary allows you to actually know what your limits are and then to create and play in that space, psychologically you're creating safety. And whenever there's psychological safety, you actually relax a little bit. Your creativity comes out a little bit more, you play a little bit more, you let your personality come out. It's kind of just like hanging out with your close group of friends. You're more likely to be yourself, you're more likely to come up with better ideas and just actually be in your authentic authority when you have these boundaries. And it's the same in business. Allow yourself to have structures that allow you to show up as the best version of you within the plan, within the goal. So it might look like, if you like recording podcasts and YouTube videos, for example, yes, you can riff and you can just talk about whatever topics you want, but perhaps it's time to introduce a schedule where you actually show up on camera that same day every single week. Or it might look like, sure, you like to riff and flow on your podcast, but a healthy boundary could be, well, if you want to grow your podcast and that's your resolution and you want to start making money off of it, it's time to start studying how to actually make money with a podcast and optimizing the way that you do it. So perhaps having a proper introduction, outro, making your podcast quality just that much better by investing in a better microphone, saying certain things in a certain way. And again, it doesn't have to impinge on your authentic expression, but it's again about moving towards a healthy structure that allows you to really show up in a creative, powerful, expressive, and authentic way, but is also going to serve the goal that you have on hand. So I feel like making a plan goes hand in hand with understanding that space that you're trying to grow in. So having expert advice, coaches, mentors, investing in learning actually is going to be a great tool for you to use. And the thing you have to know as well with the making a plan is that you don't need to over plan. And this is where so many of us get it wrong. We swing to the whole other side of the pendulum by trying to have a plan for every little thing. And I am a chronic over planner. I admit that. So I often have to pull myself back and notice when I begin to get in that state of micro planning, literally massive checklist, micro scheduling, all of it. So you want to catch when you are doing this, because sometimes this is more of a fear mechanism than it is actually productive. It actually creates constriction and limitation because now you're boxing yourself in, you're expecting yourself to do too much, you're not letting yourself have that free flow. Making a plan and having a structure is just a way for you to have a container of consistency to really practice and play with habit building and also productively getting towards your goals, because if you don't, then obviously you don't effectively show up. You might be creating content all the time, but it's not optimized and you're just doing a lot without really getting anywhere. So there is that healthy balance, and I think it's important for us to recognize what that looks like for us in the field that we're trying to grow in or to show up more consistently in. The sixth and final point that I want to make is have fun with the process. I think we forget that the purpose of life is to just be. We are, in fact, human beings, not human doings. And it's so important to remember that at the end of the day, our resolutions and our goals are just fun things that we get to work towards. Achieving them or not achieving them doesn't make us any less valuable or worthy of joy, pleasure, happiness. We are, in fact, inherently valuable and we are enough. And it's important that you don't mistake achieving your resolutions for being good enough or being a valuable contributor to the world, because just you existing, being here, showing up, enjoying life, like being you, that is enough. I want you to just remember to have fun. The more fun you have in your life, the more success will come to you. The more alignment, the more coincidences will happen, because your vibration of fun, joy, abundance, love, bliss is going to attract that into your life for you. And it's so important that as you enter this new year, that is the mode that you are switching on, to really just play and expand. At the end of the day, what always helps me is what is meant for me will find me, and everything happens in its own right timing. I don't need to try to control or force or over plan or overcommit. I just need to set the intentions, have fun with the process, and to be in the present moment. So many times we're moving so quickly and we're so fixated on just the end goal that we miss the magic of the moment. And what happens for so many of us is even when we arrive at that end point, we feel let down or unsatisfied. So many of us think we can be that one person that actually can celebrate once we get there and just stay in that bliss and that joy, but it's a human condition. It's a psychological phenomenon. And so just recognize this human part of you and work with it, rather than just pushing and hustling and saying, I'll rest when I get there. I'll enjoy myself when I arrive or when that circumstance happens. Remember that the joy and the magic of life and being human is here in the now, in the present moment. Whether you're sitting here watching me or listening to me right now, this can be a joyful moment. This can be a special moment. If you recognize just how precious every single moment is and how special it is, because you will never get it back, you will tune into a way of showing up in the world and a way of gratitude in life that really is truly liberating. And so that is where I want to end this video today. I encourage you to not lose yourself in the pursuit of a resolution, to remember that resolutions are really just a state of being. So whatever it is that you do, remember not to measure your success, your worthiness, your validation, or to outsource your abundance to those external things and to just have fun with the process. If you enjoyed this video, you want to check out my newly released community called the I Am Her Collective. It's a Discord community where you can get monthly live coaching from me and my fellow expert coaches on everything to do with abundance, well-being, mindset, energy, business, all of the things to do with elevating your life as a woman. And also, if you enjoyed this video about vision and creating a great vision for your life, including vision boarding, you want to check out my Visioneering series on my channel. It's a whole playlist where I talk about all things to do with visioneering, including vision boards. Once again, if you are someone who wants to jump on creating a vision board or want to learn how to do it well, check out the details in the description of this episode to sign up for that virtual vision board workshop. All right, my loves, thank you for joining me and Happy New Year. Let's enter 2024 strong and in abundance. Bye.
If you want to take your abundance to another level, I want to help you. I'm a life and business coach for women who want to step into their next level by activating wealth from the inside out. To help you take your first step to unlocking true abundance and your aligned potential, I'm giving you free resources, workshops, and masterclasses that you can access on demand right now. Check out www.nicoleconcepcion.co/free-resources to get your hands on it. For more videos like this, check out the other playlists and series I have on this channel, and don't forget to hit subscribe to be notified whenever I drop a new video. And if you're more of the podcast type, check out Freedom in Flow, where I dive even deeper into the concepts that will help you create less hustle and more flow, abundance, and alignment in your life and business. Now, if you're a reader, you'll want to subscribe to my email list for unfiltered, honest, and most importantly, applicable life upgrades. Now, don't be a stranger. Connect with me on Instagram and TikTok and send me a message. I love getting to know you and your story. It's why I do this. Okay, my lovely, that's all for now. I'll see you soon. Signing off, Nicole.